Hello and welcome to Ready Set Indie Games Presents Indie Game Recap, a vidcast that predominantly focuses on indie games and the news around indie games. I'm your host, Ready Set, and on today's episode, I am going to be discussing the Kickstarter for Souno's Curse, games coming soon in October, my top 10 indie games from Steam Next Fest, a review for Rainbow Billy, The Curse of the Leviathan, and our free-to-play game this week, which is The Supper. This is going to be a longer vidcast as there's so much to go over and a lot of content that I am providing in this episode. So with that being said, without further ado, here's the news. Our Kickstarter for this week is Souno's Curse, and if you are a fan of Hollow Knight, then this is going to be a game right up your alley. Developed and published by Kiro Team, Souno's Curse has you embark on a journey through a cave. The game is hand-drawn and everything that a fan of platformers and Metroidvanias could ever ask for. I originally played the demo during Steam Next Fest and would have included this one in my top 10 demos from Steam Next Fest, but I feel that it would have been more beneficial to talk about the Kickstarter, and so let's count this as an honorable mention for that list. Now, I did run into some issues with the demo where I hit invisible walls, but the game was a lot of fun and the controls were really solid. If you would like to try Souno's Curse for yourself, check out the demo on Steam and then head over to the Kickstarter, where Kiro Team is trying to meet their goal of $17,355 USD to make this game a reality. At the time of the vidcast, there was 31 days left for the Kickstarter. So be sure to wishlist this game on Steam and support the game on Kickstarter by donating to the Kickstarter or sharing the Kickstarter. So there are quite a few games coming out in the month of October. And because there are so many games coming out, I'm only going to take the time to mention a few of them, because if I manage to mention all of them, then this video would be twice as long as it already is. And so here are the games that are coming soon. Our first game comes out October the 12th, 2021, and that is Back 4 Blood. Back 4 Blood, developed by Turtle Rock Studios and published by Warner Brothers Studios, is what many are calling the spiritual successor to the Left 4 Dead series, as the game was worked on by veterans of the Left 4 Dead series, and for those who are fans of the Left 4 Dead series will really enjoy this game. I haven't had a chance to play Back 4 Blood as I was not a part of the beta that they did a while back, but I did want to mention it because it is a great game that is greatly anticipated and will be released again on October the 12th, 2021. What's also cool about Back 4 Blood is that if you are a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, the game will be available on Game Pass upon release. And the game does offer cross-play features, so you'll be able to play with PC, Xbox, and PlayStation players. So be sure to pre-order and check out Back 4 Blood on October the 12th, 2021 when it releases to PC via Steam and Epic Store, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, PS5, PS4, going for $59.99 USD for the Standard Edition, $89.99 USD for the Deluxe, and $99.99 USD for Ultimate Edition. Our next game is GB Rover, which releases on October 13th, 2021. One of the biggest things that I loved about GB Rover is it reminded me a lot of Mega Man, and as a huge Mega Man fan, I wanted to make sure I talked about this game. I came across it during my Steam Next Fest coverage, and because it is coming out soon, I decided to mention it here in the Coming Soon section. Originally, it was a part of my top 10 game list, so like many other games I will mention, we will add this as an honorable mention to that list. The game has a retro old school vibe and was a lot of fun, and I highly recommend the game a lot. So be sure to go ahead and wishlist GB Rover on Steam for PC. In addition to wishlisting the game, you can try out the game's demo before you add it, but adding the game will notify you of its release on October 13th, 2021. Our next game is Saturn Deluxe, which releases to PC and Linux on October 14th, 2021. Developed and published by Maybell, Saturn Deluxe is a twin-stick shooter which has you destroying waves and waves of enemies to save little creatures. Now, I played Saturn a while back on itch.io and fell in love with the game then, and was quite surprised to see that it was going to be released to Steam in a deluxe form, as the deluxe version offers a little more than the itch.io version of the game. So if you enjoy twin stick shooters and destroying waves and waves of enemies, be sure to check out Saturn Deluxe by wishlisting the game and picking it up on PC or Linux on October 14th, 2021. Our next game coming soon is Piley Pals. Piley Pals is developed and published by Keyrail and is a puzzle game in which I came across during my Steam Next Fest coverage. In fact, it would have been in my top 10 if I wasn't covering it here for Coming Soon games. So again, we will count this as another honorable mention for that list. Piley Pals is a puzzle platform game in which you move creatures called Piles around the board to solve puzzles. The game is very colorful and the puzzle's difficulties increase as you advance. I also really like the music of the game, and the controls do take some getting used to, but once you get used to them, the game is a lot of fun, and I do highly recommend it for those who enjoy puzzle games. Be sure to wishlist Piley Pals on Steam so that you can be notified of its release. Again, Piley Pals comes out on October 14th, 2021 for PC. Of course, our Coming Soon section would not be complete without some spoofy games. It is the month of October after all, and so our first game on our Coming Soon list is Dead Estate. Dead Estate is developed by Mike Barr Lads and published by Two Left Thumbs, and is a top-down shooter action roguelike game in which you get to select between two characters. The story starts off with Jeff Trucker, a trucker, picking up Jules H., a hitchhiker during a rainy night, and upon driving down the road, they blow a tire and stumble across the undead. With the faces that say, "Nope, I'm not doing this," they run into a mansion that is also filled with the undead, and now they must progress through the mansion and escape the undead. Each character has their own set of skills and unique perks. So of course, pick the character that is more to your liking and playstyle. I really love the graphics of the game, and I did feel the controls were a little odd, as when I played the demo, you were only allowed to use keyboard and mouse. But after a few moments, I got used to the controls. But I do hope that the full version does offer controller support. Currently, I am unsure if the game will be out on any other platform. So if you want to check out Dead Estate, be sure to wishlist the game on Steam for PC so that you are notified when the game releases October 19th, 2021. Our next Coming Soon game, also in time for spoofy season, is Jars. Developed by Mousetrap Games and published by Dialect Entertainment, Jars was another game that I came across during my Steam Next Fest coverage. In fact, the game was a replacement for one of the games I was going to cover, as the other game did not work well, and I ended up falling in love with Jars. In fact, It too would have made my top 10 Steam Next Fest games list if it wasn't coming out soon. So again, we will count this as another honorable mention for that list. In Jars, you play as Victor, who just saw his father turn into a bat or creature of the night, and is then sent to what appears to be the basement by his mother. The game is a tower defense game in which Victor must use minions and objects to protect the bat's sarcophagus. The game starts out easy and picks up difficulty as you go on, and I really love the art style of the game as well, and it really gives off spoofy vibes. So if you're not one into horror games and you enjoy tower defense games, then this is a game that I highly recommend. So be sure to wishlist Jars on Steam for PC, macOS, Linux, so that you get notified when the game releases on October 20th, 2021. Our last game for coming soon is a game I have talked about in the past and also fits spoofy season, but I wanted to mention it again as it is coming out this month, and that is Tandem, A Tale of Shadows. Tandem, A Tale of Shadows is a top-down, side-scrolling puzzle game in which you control Emma, a 10-year-old girl who wants to solve the disappearance of Thomas K., the son of an illusionist, and Fenton, a teddy bear in which Emma sees comes to life and runs toward the mansion, which happens to be the last known place of Thomas. Together, Emma and Fenton must solve the puzzles to get to the bottom of what happened to the illusionist's son. I do want to take the time to again thank Monochrome Paris and Hayton Interactive and their PR team for reaching out to me and providing me with a copy of the game to play. The game is beautiful and the puzzles are fantastic. I love the look of Emma, who reminded me a bit of Alice from Alice in Wonderland, and I am a big fan of games that allow you to control multiple characters to get the job done. The controls are pretty solid, and if you love puzzle games that allow for you to control multiple characters to solve puzzles, then I would say be sure to wishlist Tandem, A Tale of Shadows on Steam to get notified of its release. In addition to being available on PC, the game will also be available on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. Steam Next Fest for October ended on October 7th, 2021, and I can honestly say that I was surprised by a lot of the games that I found. Of course, there were hundreds of demos to choose from, and I myself was only able to cover 29 different demos for Steam Next Fest. And out of those 29, I was able to come up with a list of 10 indie game demos from Steam Next Fest that I really enjoy. Please be advised that the footage of the following 10 games you are about to see are in fact demos of their respective games, and that the footage that you see may or may not be in the final version of the game. With that being said, let's get on to the list. Starting off our list at number 10 is the game Storyteller. Storyteller is an interactive fiction puzzle game that has point-and-click elements. In the game, you must set up the panels to tell the correct stories. I will admit, at first, I was a little iffy on the game, but as I continued to play the game, the more I wanted to play it. The demo is pretty lengthy as well, with it being about 30 minutes long. Storyteller will be available on PC via Steam, and its demo at the time of this vidcast was still available. So if you would like to test out the game for yourself, please do so, and be sure to wishlist the game on Steam for PC so that you are notified when the game is released. Moving on to number 9 of the list is Young Souls. Young Souls is a 2D brawler with action RPG elements that puts you in the shoes of two rebellious twins who have found out things about their foster father that they never knew, like him being an ambassador of sorts for the goblin world and human world. Now the twins must do what they can to save their foster father. The game was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed the fact that you could switch out between the twins when playing single player mode. Young Souls will be available on PC via Steam. Sadly, the demo is no longer available, so if you like what you see of the game, please wishlist the game on Steam so you are notified of its release. Now, Moving on to number 8 on the list is Neige. Neige is a very beautiful hand-drawn atmospheric game that is more like art in motion, as I like to call it, because ultimately you can interpret the game the way you see it. Although the game itself is supposed to be about Neige defending his puppy, in order to do so, he must embrace his inner darkness. The game is breathtaking, and I highly recommend it if you are someone who likes casual atmospheric games that do not rely on actual words to tell its story. You can try out Neige's free demo for yourself on PC, macOS, Linux, on Steam, and be sure to wishlist the game so that you are notified of its release. Moving on to number 7 on the list, which is Gustavo's The Witches of Arcana. Gustavo The Witches of Arcana is a Metroidvania adventure game in which you play as Gustavo, the Guardian Witch. After trouble brews in Arcana, Gustavo, as the Guardian Witch, must go off on a journey to see what is going on. The game is a lot of fun and its humor is pretty great too, and I really enjoyed playing the demo for this. Looking into it more, I realized that you open other powers by defeating Gustavo's classmates, some even being her closest friends, in order to obtain their powers. So it gives it a sort of Mega Man vibe as well, and as I love Mega Man games, this one was a lot of fun. You can still play the demo of Gustavo, The Witches of Arcana, at the time of this vidcast, on PC via Steam. And be sure to wishlist the game so that you can be notified of its release. Number 6 on the list is one of the punniest games I have seen in a long time, and that is Monochrome RPG. Monochrome RPG's art style is based off of cartoons from the 1920s, and as you take on the role of Otto, a non-binary toon who must overcome their shyness as they have to entertain enemies, to join their troop on their journey, or even perform on stage to outperform their foes. I really love the game, and if you are a huge fan of dad jokes and puns, then this is the game for you. I mean, who doesn't love a good dad joke or pun? In fact, here's a dad joke for you. Did you hear about the guy who invented the knock-knock joke? No? Well, he won the Nobel Prize. Alright. I'm sorry you had to endure that. But be sure to go ahead and check out the demo for Monochrome RPG on PC and macOS, which was still available at the time of this vidcast. And be sure to also wishlist the game so you can be notified of its release. Number 5 on the list is Etora. Etora is a beautifully crafted action-adventure game in which you play Etora, the only human in the world of Nahukan. In order to find out who she is, she will have to go on a journey through Nahukan along with her mouthy axe. The game was a lot of fun and I thought the graphics were breathtaking. I also liked that the demo gave you more gameplay and not a strict story so that you could get a sense of the game's mechanics. Currently, the demo for iTORAH is still available to be played on PC via Steam at the time of this vidcast. So give it a try and then add it to your wishlist so that you are notified of the game's release. Moving on to number 4 on our top 10 list is Wytchwood. Wytchwood is a beautiful and stunning crafting adventure game where you play as a witch who made a deal with an entity, even though you can't remember what the deal was exactly. You must go out into the world and brew different types of spells and pass judgment upon others. I was really drawn into the art style of the game and really love the story, as it takes the old school fairy tale and gives it a twist and makes it fun. The demo for Wytchwood at the time of this vidcast is still available for PC on Steam, so go ahead and check out the demo and then be sure to wishlist the game on Steam so that you are notified when the game releases. Moving on to our top 3 of our top 10 list, number 3 is Astral Ascent. Astral Ascent is an action roguelike game in which you get to choose from 4 different heroes. although at the time of the demo you could only choose from 2. In Astral Ascent, you are trying to escape from the garden that is guarded by the 12 Zodiac bosses, in which you are offered to complete their challenges, and upon doing so, have the opportunity to have them join your side as an ally. I like that the game featured both fight rooms as well as an exploration room, and overall I had a lot of fun with the game and cannot wait until the game drops into early access. Sadly, the demo for Astro Ascent is no longer available on Steam, so you will need to wishlist the game for PC on Steam to be notified of its release. Now, I had a hard time choosing between my number 2 and 1 game from my top 10 list, but ultimately I ended up choosing for number 2 on my list, Eternal Threads. I chose to put Eternal Threads as number 2 on the list because it had a fantastic story and the gameplay was phenomenal. Eternal Threads is a walking simulator in which you are tasked with changing the outcome of an event to save everyone involved with the event. In order to do so, you have to go and change the timeline of other events to change the overall outcome. So think of Butterfly Effect. I had a lot of fun with the game and I did appreciate the game when its demo was available at the time of Steam Next Fest. Now, one of the things I found interesting with the demo is that it was a time demo, which is something you don't see a lot of nowadays. So if you enjoy story-driven walking simulators, then I recommend adding Eternal Threads to your wish list for PC, as the demo is no longer available, but adding it to your wish list will alert you of the game's release. And on to my number 1 pick for my top 10 list of demos from Steam Next Fest. And number 1 is Arcade Paradise. Arcade Paradise puts you in the role of Ashley, a 19-year-old whose father has left them the family business, and which is this awesome, super duper laundromat. Yep, it's a laundromat, but Ashley has bigger plans as they see that the money really comes from the arcade machines in the back room. And along with their sister, they plan to extend the arcade room to make their business profitable, all without their father knowing. Now, I ended up putting Arcade Paradise as the top of my list for a few reasons. 1, it's a demo that I am still currently playing because I enjoyed the game that much. And 2, in addition to programming the simulation part of the game, which is you taking care of the laundromat to generate income, the developers are also creating playable games that you can play for the arcade portion of the game, which is my one true weakness in games within a game. Overall, Arcade Paradise is a lot of fun, and if you are someone who enjoys simulation games, such as myself, then I highly recommend playing the demo for yourself on PC and wishlisting the game on PC for Steam so that you are notified of the game's release. Now, on to our review for this week. Our review for this week is the newly released Rainbow Billy, The Curse of the Leviathan, which is available on PC, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. Before I start my review of Rainbow Billy, The Curse of the Leviathan, I would like to thank the developer, Manavoid, and publisher, Skybound Games, for providing me with not only a free copy of the game to play for review, but also being kind enough to provide me with the codes that I gave out for the giveaway that I recently did. Developed by Manavoid Entertainment and published by Skybound Games, Rainbow Billy, The Curse of the Leviathan features Billy, a non-binary character who was chosen for the Star Parade because of the true colors in their heart. As the parade gets underway, the Leviathan gets annoyed and sucks all of the color from the world of imagination leaving it in a black and white state. Now it is up to Billy, and the help of their friendship, Jiro, Rodriguez, and others you meet along the way to restore the world of imagination to its true colorful self. I really enjoyed Rainbow Billy when I first played its demo on PC and was really excited for the game's release. I have played the game on both PC and the Nintendo Switch and will admit that I do enjoy the PC version of the game over the Nintendo Switch version of the game, as the game does perform a lot better on PC. When playing the Nintendo Switch version of the game did have hiccups here and there, and I would have to wait for the hardware to catch up. Now, mind you, I was playing this on the older Switch model and not the new OLED model that just released. But there for sure were performance issues in the Switch version of the game. So if you do have a PC, I would recommend picking it up on PC to play. I did love the graphics of the game as it reminded me of an old school cartoon, and the story is very wholesome as well. Overall, it is a fantastic adventure RPG game, and I do recommend it if you are looking for a new adventure RPG to play. Rainbow Billy, The Curse of the Leviathan is available on PC for Steam and Fanatical, the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One, and is going for $29.99 USD. Now, onto our free-to-play game of the week, which is The Supper. Developed and published by Octavie Navarro, The Supper is a short point-and-click game that tells the story of Miss Appleton, a little old lady who runs a tavern, and how 3 unexpected patrons stumble into her tavern for a meal. The game is relatively short, and like point-and-click fashion, you are tasked with creating the meals for the 3 patrons. The game does mention some things that may be upsetting to some players, so players' discretion is advised. The game is very short, and it took me about 20 minutes or so to play it, but overall the graphics of the game and the story were done very well. I would love to have seen more to this game, or see it turn into a longer game where Miss Appleton continues to do what she does. If you would like to check out The Supper for yourself, you can play The Supper for free on Steam or itch.io for PC. In addition, if you want to support the game, please consider picking up the PDF art book that's going for $1.99 USD. Well, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Indie Game Recap. I do hope that you enjoyed the content, and if you did enjoy it, please feel free to check out my other content by visiting my link tree at www.linktr.ee/ReadySetIndieGames. Also, if you enjoy what you saw of the content, please feel free to donate to my Ko-fi page at ko-fi.com/ReadySetIndieGames. Until next time, this has been another Indie Game Recap with Ready Set Indie Games. I am Ready Set. Please be safe and keep gaming.